Hello, everyone. So, the topic for this week is the pharmaceutical industry, and I decided to research HIV/AIDS medications and the financial burden of treatment. So, HIV virus and the disease AIDS that can result from it have been prevalent issues in healthcare since the 1980s. And of course, over the years, our understanding of how the virus works, our ability to detect the virus and identify people with the disease AIDS, along with treatment plans, have greatly improved since then. We currently have ART treatment for people that have the HIV virus or that have the disease AIDS. And these treatment plans enable those living with the disease or living with the virus, the suppressed load, so pre-AIDS, they are able to live long, happy, and fairly healthy lives. That being said, the ART treatment plan can be very expensive. So, in some countries in Africa, and in some locations where there's tiered pricing and government sponsorship for HIV/AIDS medication, the medication might be free or it could be $75. So, a price that is fairly affordable for the majority of the population. I can speak from personal experience. I went on a trip this summer to Uganda and I volunteered in a health clinic in a rural western village, and I got to see firsthand kind of what the medication plans would look like for people. People would come to our clinic once a month on designated HIV/AIDS days, and they would receive all the medication they needed for 30 days. Some people would even get a 2-month supply, and this was completely free for them. The government paid for all of it so that the people could have the drugs that they needed to stay healthy and suppress their viral load and therefore protect the population as well, because they are less likely to spread that virus if they are practicing these healthy habits, if they're consistently taking their medications, and if they are aware of how their virus, how their disease might impact others. So, just in general, the government is very involved with treatment for HIV/AIDS in some countries, like I saw in Uganda, and that was very beneficial for all of the population, not just the people that were suffering from the disease. So, kind of going into some of the basic information, HIV/AIDS is going to be a lifelong disease or problem that people live with. So, once you have the virus, it's going to be in your system, even if it's at a very suppressed load. You will still have it in your body for as long as you live, and you can pass it to others, or you can get it from semen, vaginal fluids, blood, needles, and breast milk. So those are some of the ways that it can be transferred. It is a retrovirus, and it comes in 2 forms of lentivirus. And the virus is very effective at damaging our immune systems. One of the key things it does is destroy CD4 T cells. And when it progresses from you just having the virus to actually having the disease AIDS, that means that your CD4 T cells, the count of that falls below 200 per cubic millimeters of blood. Or if you have an AIDS-defining complication, and those could be things like tuberculosis or other diseases that you might get with your more compromised immune system due to the actions of the HIV virus. So now to talk about the drugs and treatment plans for this disease. So there's not just one particular thing you might take to suppress your viral load or to treat AIDS. It is a treatment plan that is somewhat catered to the individual in each circumstance, and some people have termed the treatment plan as kind of a cocktail of drugs or things like that. There are a couple different things that you'll have to take, and when you're taking a couple of these different drugs, some of them are very expensive, so that can kind of add up really quickly. And these are drugs that you have to take every month for the rest of your life to ensure that your viral load is suppressed and that you're not going to progress towards AIDS or that you keep AIDS in check. This is very important that you regularly take these medications. And in the US, when you have co-pays that are potentially thousands of dollars every month, that means that it can be really, really difficult to afford the treatment that you need to live. And that's something that our doctors are currently very frustrated with, and that's something that a lot of people in politics are very frustrated with. And some things definitely have been changing in big pharma. People have been looking into different ways that we could try to create incentives for big pharma to lower drug prices, whether it be kind of just as a form of competition, or maybe changing the drugs that are recommended by doctors, maybe having more generic name drugs as part of the ART treatment plan, things like that. We are working on that currently, but just recently, just a couple years ago, like I mentioned in my research notes, there was a very vital drug to the ART treatment plan that's had a skyrocketed price. It went up to $650, and it was something like 400% increase in price in just a couple years of a time frame. Ridiculous. And that's something that we need to work on balancing. Is we live in this capitalist society, and we live in a structure where big pharma wants to make money so that they can continue to do research and so they can profit off of the drugs that they're making. But they have a lot of power due to their relationships with government and to their relationship with the Medicaid and Medicare programs. So it's really tricky to be able to find a solution that works for everyone, a solution that pleases big pharma and makes them feel like they are earning enough for all their effort and that they are earning enough to continue to have the motivation to research new drugs and treatments, and also ensuring that we keep our humanity and that we are not causing suffering for other people, and that people are able to afford and access these life-saving medications. It's a really tricky thing, and I think my research notes kind of highlight how even though we have health insurance, these co-pays, these deductibles can still be incredibly high, and maybe big pharma doesn't quite want to see that. Maybe they are focused on research and innovation and profit, and they think that the current system is working because it's working for them. But just because it's working for these companies doesn't mean that the system is working for everyone, and I certainly don't think it's working for people that are living with the HIV virus or AIDS. So just to kind of sum it up, these medications for the ART treatment are very costly, especially in the US compared to some other countries where there is tiered pricing and aid, and the government really pays for a lot of the medications for its citizens. In the US, we have a current system where people really have to pay a lot out of pocket, and it's not sustainable. And people in politics are working on developing new strategies, and we are seeing progress, but it's certainly something that needs a lot of work.